Y'all, come on back to the porch. I saved you a spot right here next to me on the swing. So I sent a text the other day. Well, it wasn't really the other day. Y'all, if I say the other day, that could be 2 days ago, or it could be 2 years ago. That's just the other day. But, anyways, I send this text on a regular basis on my way. And I was not on my way. I was still standing in the bathroom with a towel on my head, deciding if I even liked the clothes that I was wearing. I know you've done that too. Don't even say you haven't. We all say, I'm on my way. It doesn't mean I'm on my way. It means I plan to eventually be there, and I would appreciate you not asking me if I've left the house yet again. Or it's the other one. Somebody says, "We need to get together soon." And they mean it. They're in that right there in that moment. They absolutely mean it. Then it's a year later, like a whole year, y'all. 365 days, 52 weeks, a year later. And neither one of y'all has said a word about it. Because I guess at some point you both just quietly agree it really wasn't an actual plan. It was just something that you would say instead of goodbye. Those two white lies, as we say, are harmless enough. Maybe it's the thing you say in the middle of an argument. I will never do that again, I promise you. And your voice was shaking when you said it, and you literally meant every single word of it standing right there. But a few weeks go by, and there you are. You're doing the same thing again. Nobody says anything about the promise because bringing it up would mean that you didn't stick to it. Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe it's the vows. The ones you said out loud in front of God, your grandma, and everybody. Every word of that meant something that day you said it. And somewhere along the way, not all at once, but just a tiny bit over time, some of those words stopped feeling like promises and started feeling more like something you said once on one day, and you haven't really even thought about it since then. We didn't used to need a contract and a lawyer and three witnesses to believe somebody. Back in the old times, when you told somebody something, you shook your hand and that was it. It was your word. A handshake was literally the promise. It's not like that anymore. I think most of us, me included, have gotten a little too comfortable letting our words bend depending on the day or our mood or how inconvenient it turned out to be once the feeling wore off. I have done it. Yes, I am coming. I will meet you. We will do this together. We will meet up. We will have supper, yada, yada, yada. The day comes the day before, and you're like, man, I don't even want to go. I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to go out. I don't want to leave my house. Jesus has something to say about that too. And it's totally not what you would expect. I'm telling you. He's not up there telling his disciples to swear bigger oaths or make more serious sounding promises. What he says is so simple, it's almost insulting. And it's so hard to actually live out. I'm literally still working on it myself, honestly. So get all comfy and cozy. Today we're talking about Matthew 5:31 through 37, keeping your word when it's hard. And a world that treats you like promises don't even matter. Like they're just disposable. You can just throw it out. I've got a feeling this one might step on a few toes, mine included, but let's go. Y'all, welcome back to Unscripted Conversations. This is season 3, Faith in Motion, part 2. And y'all, we are deep into living the kingdom way, working our way verse by verse through the Sermon on the Mount. Last week, we talked about guarding your heart, Matthew 5:27 through 30, and how Jesus took one commandment that nobody thought really applied to them. And the way he talked about it and expressed it made it hit a whole lot closer to home. It's not just about what you do. He said it's about what you let your mind wander to thinking and everything when nobody's even watching what you're doing. And if you haven't caught that one yet, go back, give it a listen. and grab the free printable guardrails while you're there. It just kind of goes through it and helps you work through the thought process. And today he keeps right on going because after Jesus deals with your eyes, your thoughts, he turns around and talks about your mouth, specifically what your word is actually worth. So today we're in Matthew 5:31 through 37, and we're calling it keeping it your word when it's hard. Because y'all, that's exactly what it is. Sometimes it's just hard. All right, y'all, before we get into it, you know the deal. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this time and thank you for whoever's listening right now. Whether they're in the car, they're standing at the sink, doing dishes, folding laundry like I should be doing, but I'm not, walking the dog around the block one more time, whatever it is that they're doing, be right next to them. God, today is a hard one because it's not really about a Bible rule. It's about whether people can trust what comes out of mouths, whether it's our mouth or someone else's, or whether our yes is really yes or our no is really no. I'm asking you to quiet me down right now, push me out the way. I want it to be you, Father. Speak through me, however that needs to happen. Show us where our word has gotten a little too loose. And give us the courage to be people whose word means something again. Start with the small stuff, the I'm on my way messages, and the little promises that nobody's checking up behind us on. Be with us right here, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. All right, y'all, let's talk about Matthew 5:31. The message says, remember the scripture that says, whoever divorces his wife, let him do it legally, giving her divorce papers and her legal rights. The NLT says it like this: you have heard the law that says a man can divorce his wife by merely giving her a written notice of divorce. Honestly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here today on this, just a bit of background so that the next verse makes a bit more sense. Back then, a man could divorce his wife pretty easily. She didn't have much protection once that happened. Verse 32 is Jesus stepping in for the person getting hurt by that. And I want to say this plainly because I know some of y'all listening right now carry this one close to your heart, me included. This is not Jesus standing over anybody's divorce with a verdict, okay? One verse today isn't the whole conversation on that topic. What matters is the pattern that's actually behind it, because the pattern is what the rest of this passage that he's talking about is actually about. And the pattern is this: people had gotten really good at following a rule on paper, but they missed the point behind it. A signed paper was legal, right? It still is today. But legal and right aren't really the same thing. And Jesus keeps talking about that over and over in the whole sermon. And that's exactly what leads us into voice 33, which is really where I want to focus today's episode. The message says, don't say anything you don't mean. This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. And then the NLT says, you have also heard that our ancestors were told, don't break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. Okay, so that's the same problem, but it's just showing up in a different spot. Back then, if you wanted somebody to actually believe you meant something, you didn't just say it plain. You swore on something by heaven, by earth, by Jerusalem, by your own head, your life. And get this, some of those counted a bit more than others. If you swear on one thing, that was seen as more serious than swearing on something else. People had kind of built this whole system like ranking exactly, if that makes sense. Um how much they were allowed to lie to you if you want to take it like that. But it just really depended on what words they used to say whatever they were going to say. And honestly, we still do our little own version of that, don't we? I promise barely means anything anymore. Then you have I swear, which sounds a little bit more serious. And then the ultimate, y'all, I swear on my life. That's supposed to be the big one, the one you're really not allowed to break. But underneath all of that is something that we don't like to say out loud. And that is our plain, regular words just aren't good enough by themselves anymore. We think we have to add a little bit extra to it to get somebody to believe us. And y'all, that's sad. That's sad. Your word should be the gospel. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Now, go back, look at me. I always say I'm ADHD brain. I forget things, and it is the truth. This day and time, we have so much going on in our everyday lives. We forget things. I forget things. I will get a message and I'll be like, oh my goodness, let me check on that. I did this the other day. Actually, I think honestly, it was like last month. One of my really good friends, I was like, oh my goodness, I think I do have that transferred. Let me check. Y'all, I completely forgot. Completely. I saw a shiny object and we were gone. They messaged me later and were like, hey, I actually found I did have that transfer. And I felt horrible. I felt horrible. I was like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot. If I don't write it down on a piece of paper and actually mark things off, I forget. And that's not good because my word should be golden. If I say, let me do that, I have to do it right then and there. If people say, hey, this is going on, can you say a prayer for me? I have to do it right then and there or it's gone. I see something shiny. I look over to my kitchen. Right now, Zena Grace's dog bowl is empty. I need to feed her. Gertie is sitting on the counter ready to bake bread. I need to be doing that. The trash looks like it needs to be dumped. And when I look there, whatever I was just doing, like my point of what I was talking about, because I'm literally looking around my house now, is gone. Which is why you have bullet points here, my outline with bullet. Yeah. Okay. So back to what we were talking about. So that's exactly what Jesus is fixing to talk about next. What he says is so simple, it's almost funny. And it's actually so hard to live out that most of us, me included, always me included, still reach for the bigger promise instead of just trusting our word to be enough. So let's go into that a little bit deeper. People back then had all of these different ways to swear a promise, and some counted a bit more than others. Now let's see what Jesus says about that in Matthew 5:34 through 37. The message says, "Do not say anything you don't mean." This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate words to get your way, you go wrong. I like that. All right, but let's listen to the NLT. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say, by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say, by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. Do not even say, by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Just say a simple, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. Wow. So, what Jesus is really saying in plain words, stop swearing on stuff to make your promise sound bigger and better. Just say yes or no and mean it. That's it. That is the whole teaching. Now, that almost sounds too simple, right? Like, that's it? But think about how hard that actually is. How many times have you said, yeah, I'll be there, but you already knew in the back of your mind you were not going? Or you told somebody, I'll call you just to get off the phone. And you literally had zero intention of calling them. We do this all the time, y'all. We say yes because it's easier than saying no in that moment, even when we already know it's not true. Jesus is saying, y'all, that has to stop because words are magic. Your word is supposed to mean something all by itself. You shouldn't need to swear on your grandmother's grave or I promise, promise, promise. or add any extra words to make people believe you. If you are a person who tells the truth, your plain yes should be enough. And if people can't trust your plain word, adding a bigger or fancier promise on top of it, it doesn't fix it. It just covers it up for a second. Think back to what we talked about in the beginning. The I'm on my way text you send while you're still in a towel, picking out your outfit or not even liking your outfit. That's a small thing, but nobody's really going to get hurt by that one per se. But it is the same root as the bigger stuff. It's saying words without meaning them because it's easier than being honest at that point in time. And if you practice that with small things, it gets easier to do with big things as well. That's just how habits work. Nobody starts out breaking big promises. You start by letting the little ones kind of slide. So, how do we do this? How do we get back to a place where our yes really is yes? First thing, say less. If you're not sure you can do something, don't just say yes to make that easier in the moment. It might feel awkward to say, let me check, or I don't think I can right then. But it feels a lot worse to let somebody down later after you told them yes. Second thing, do not oversell your promises. If you catch yourself saying, I swear, I promise, I really mean it this time, just stop. Ask yourself why you feel the need for the extra words. Usually that's because some part of you already knows your word has not been holding up. You have not backed what you said. When you say, yes, I will, let me do it, I will call you, and you don't back your word up, are people going to believe you? No, they're not. And that is worth paying attention to. Because if people don't believe you, if they don't believe in your word should be the gospel. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Last night, yes, I was supposed to record this last night, but we won't go there. Last night, I did a project on my live. I said I was going to pick somebody to win it. I did. Right then and there, as soon as I ended my live, I wrote a note, put that project in an envelope, and print the shipping label right then and there. It went off. It's gone. That is sticking to your word. If I don't, I would have set it to the side. I would have woken up this morning and said, my washing machine is still not fixed. True story. The parts are going to be here later today. I need to get this done. I need to take the clothes to Sam's mama's to do a load of laundry so I can have something clean to put on my body. Don't even ask. The parts just arrived though. But then I was like, oh, I've got to get my podcast recorded. I've got to do it. That project would have still sat on my desk. By the time I made it back into my office after I had done all of this stuff, I would have looked at the project and said, oh my goodness, I still did not put this in the mail. The mail's already run. So now it's going to go out a day late. Stick to your word. The third thing, even it kind of goes with this. When you do say yes, treat it like it really matters. Even if it's a teeny tiny little yes. I'll text you when I get there. Even we should all get together soon. The kind that the one that everybody says, and a lot of times people really don't mean it. What if you were the one person who actually meant it? What if you said yes? People knew you meant it because you had always had a habit of meaning what you say, but everybody else canceled. How would you feel? That's not a small thing. That's actually one of the most attractive things about a person. Truly knowing that when they say something, it's true. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to do your homework. You don't have to second guess it. You don't have to add it up against all other times they let you down. You can just honestly believe them. And here's the tender part. So hang on with me for a second, okay? A lot of us got into the habit of saying yes when we meant no, or making promises bigger than when we mean them. Because somewhere along the way, we learned that our plain word was not enough. Many people didn't believe us unless we swore on something. Maybe we grew up around people whose word never held up. So we learned to overpromise just to be believed at all. If that's you, this isn't Jesus standing over you, pointing a finger, disappointed. This is him handing you something better than what you learned. It's permission to just be a person whose plain word is true and trustworthy without needing to dress it up with anything extra. That's what let your yes be yes really means. Not a rule about vocabulary, a whole different way of living where you say what you mean and you mean what you say. You don't need anything fancy. You just need them to trust and believe what you said. Okay, so we've talked about what Jesus has said. Now let's talk about what that actually looks like to us in everyday life. Let your yes be yes is easy to agree with, but it might be harder to actually do. So let's start with the marriage, since that's usually the biggest one. If you're married, your word gets tested in the small stuff way more than the big stuff. It's not usually the vows that get broken all at once, it's the little tiny promises all along the way. I'll cut back on that. I'll be better about calling when I'm running late. I hear you and I'll work on that. I will get my shoes away from the front door. Did I put a little extra emphasis on that? Yeah. And then life happens. You forget it, it's inconvenient, or you let it slide. One time doesn't hurt anything. But if your spouse is keeping account, even if they never say it out loud, every time your word holds, you're building trust. And when it doesn't, when you don't keep your word, you're spending trust you have already stored up, so to speak. You are burning through that. So if you're married, this teaching isn't really about the wedding day. It's about whether the little things you say to each other, they can actually believe. Now let's talk about parenting for a second, because kids learn from this whether we mean to teach it or not. If you tell your kid, if you do that one more time, we're leaving, and they do it, and you don't leave, you just yell it a little bit louder, your kid is learning absolutely nothing. They're learning that your word doesn't mean anything until you're really mad. And that is a hard habit to unlearn later in life for both, for you and them. It doesn't mean you have to be harsh. It just means you say less, but you mean more. A calm no that actually means something is worth more than 10 warnings that don't. Friendships are another big one. And this is where I think about the beginning again. We should get together sometime soon. What if saying that you just said, I can't this month, or let's plan something in March, and then you actually do it? That sounds like a small thing, but it's rare enough now that people actually notice it. People will remember the friend whose word is golden. That is not nothing. That's actually one of the most vulnerable things you can be known for. And then there's work, promises to coworkers or customers or vendors or your boss. I'll have that to you by Friday. How many of us have said that? And then Friday morning, we are scrambling because we never really actually believed we would hit the mark. Jesus isn't just saying don't ever make plans or set deadlines. He's saying do not say things you already know are not true just because it's easier to be said in that moment. If Friday is not realistic, say Tuesday of next week and actually do it. A smaller promise you keep is worth more than a bigger one you don't. And here's the thread running through all of it. Every single one of these is a chance to either build trust or break it. And most of us are breaking it more than we realize. One small broken promise at a time without even meaning it. So, here's something practical you can actually do this week. Before you say yes to something, anything, whether it's big or small, just stop for a second and ask yourself, do I actually mean this? Or am I just saying it because it's convenient right now? If you mean it, say it and follow through. If you don't, it's okay to say, let me think about it, or even just say no. A slow yes that you actually keep is so much better than just saying yes in that moment and then not sticking to your word. If you are somebody whose word has gotten a little loose over the years, and maybe you didn't even notice it happening, this isn't about beating yourself up over it. It's about starting today, picking one relationship, pick one promise that you have been letting slide, and go be the person whose word yes means something again. That's not a small thing. That's actually one of the most powerful things you can offer to somebody today. All right, y'all. So here's what we covered today. Jesus took two things, divorce and vows, and he showed us the same problem underneath both of them. People were following the rules on paper, but they were missing the point entirely. When it comes to your word, specifically, he said something so simple it's almost funny. Just say yes or no and mean it. That's it. Don't dress it up. Don't swear on things to make it sound bigger and better. Just a plain, trustworthy yes or no. That's it. That's the whole thing. Didn't Dr. Seuss say that? Say what you mean and mean what you say, and let that be enough. Lord, thank you for being with us right here, right now. Thank you for showing us that our word matters, not because we have to earn your love by keeping every promise perfectly, but because you made us to be people others can trust. I pray for anybody who's listening whose word has gotten a little bit loose over the years, whether they meant it to or not. Give them the courage to start fresh, one promise at a time. And for anybody who's been let down by somebody else's broken word, heal that hurt, Lord. Help them know your word never fails, even when ours does. Thank you for your patience with us, Father, while we figure this out. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. All right, y'all, that's a wrap on what we've got for today. If this one had you thinking back over a few of your own I'm on my way text, mine too, y'all, mine too. We are in good company. If this show has been a blessing for you, I would love for you to buy me a coffee over at ko-fi.com/simply blessed designs. It helps keep this whole thing running, and I don't take that lightly, y'all. It means so very much. Next time we were talking about what Jesus says about not retaliating, responding without losing yourself in it. Y'all, Matthew 5:38 through 42 is going to be a good one. Until then, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Stick to your words, say what you mean what you say, and I will see you next week. Thanks, y'all.